Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Nila Yashoda Nandana Yamuna Tira Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrata Kachara Vishnu Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Desha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, of all-pervading personality of Godhead, now from our respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada. Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 25, the characteristics of King Puranjan. Today we're going to do 2. Just like Ganga Mantri did 48, 49, I'm going to do because they went together. So similarly, 50 and 51 go together. But we'll do the Sanskrit together for 50. Text 50. Pitrihurnripapuriyadvar Dakshinena Paranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yati Shrutadharan Vitaha Pitrihurnripapuriyadvar Dakshinena Paranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yati Shrutadharan Vataha Pitrihurnripapuriyadvar Dakshinena Paranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yati Shrutadharan Vitaha Chant.
Dakshinena Paranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yati Shrutadharan Vitaha Dakshinena Puranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yati Shrutadharan Vitaha Pitrihurnripapuriyadvar Dakshinena Puranjanaha Rashtrang Dakshina Panchalam Yata Shrutadharan Vitaha.
Word for word, Pitrihu. Of the name Pitrihu. Nripa. O King. Puryaha. Of the city. Dvaha. Gate. Dakshinena. On the southern side. Paranjanaha. King Paranjan. Rastram. Country. Dakshina. Southern. Panchalam. Of the name Panchala. Yati. Used to go. Shrutadhara Anvita. Along with his friend Shrutadhara. Translation: the southern gate of the city was known as Pitrihu, and through that gate, King Paranjan used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchala, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhara. Please repeat. The southern gate of the city was known as Pitrihu. And through that gate, King Paranjan used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchala, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhara. Srila Prabhupada's brief purport. The right ear is used for karma kandya, or fruit of activities. As long as one is attached to the enjoyment of material resources, he hears from the right ear and uses the five senses to elevate himself to the higher planetary systems like Pitrilok. Consequently, the right ear is here described as the Pitrihu gate. And I'll just go on and read the next, and then we'll talk about both. Text 51, Devahur nama puriyadva uttarena puranjana rastram uttarapanchalam yati shutataran. Same last line. And same third line too, except for it's uttara instead of panch, dakshin. It's north instead of south. Translation. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu, not Pitrihu, Devahu. Through that gate, King Paranjan used to go with his friend Shrutadhar to the place known as Uttarapanjala. Prabhupada's purport, the two ears are situated on the northern and the southern side. So we've been hearing how, like the eyes and the nose, the two eyes and the two nostrils, like the eyes can't see unless they're facing the sun. So the sunrise comes and then we can see. I mean, now we have lights, but in the natural sense. So if I'm looking here and that's east, actually it's there, but just pretend that's east, then this right ear is going to be hearing what's coming from the southern side, and the north, the left ear is going to be hearing the north. So that plays into this purport. The ear on the southern side is very strong, the right ear, and is always anxious to hear about sense enjoyment. The ear on the northern side, however, is used for taking initiation from the spiritual master and for gaining promotion to the spiritual sky. Now that's interesting that what Prabhupada says here doesn't square with what he would say in letters, for example, or even in conversations, because when he would send, if he wasn't there personally to give someone Gayatri, he would send a letter and he would say, I've chanted on the for Gayatri, I've given them, I'm sending in the mantras, so the second initiates can read them and see how to pronounce them and practice. But they should hear me chant the mantras too, and I am sending the tape, and they should hear it through the right ear. So that's different from what he says here. But so I don't know anything more about that. Maybe there's some reason. Because here it says the right ear is specifically attuned, to fruitive thing, materialistic stuff, and the left ear is for spiritual. But anyway, just a point of information. The right ear, or the ear on the southern side, is called Pitrihu, which indicates that it is used for attaining the higher planetary systems. Okay, but it's higher, but it's higher in a materialistic higher, not like people go to Svarga, not because they want to go back to Godhead, but they want to enjoy heavenly sense pleasure. Those higher planets, which indicates that it is used for attaining the higher planetary systems known as Pitriloka. But the left ear, which is known as Devahu, is utilized for hearing about even higher planetary systems. So you go above the Svarga, and then you got Tapajana Mahara, and Prabhupada mentions that in the purport here, which is really for spiritual pursuits, such as Maharloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka. That's the highest planet. Or yet even higher planets situated in the spiritual universe, in Vaikuntha, where one becomes more inclined to be permanently situated. Because all these other things, it's just temporary. Even if you get a nice, situation, it's just like you're at the top of the Ferris wheel, but then you got to go down. Yeah. So as an intelligent person will want to go to that place where there's no more change. You don't have to lose it. And this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, 9:25. Interesting that Prabhupada quotes this Gita verse. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitribhrata Taham bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajinopimam. Quote, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. So that's one choice you can make. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors, go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. Or we can, yeah. So that's the place where we want to go, where Krishna is. Unquote. And Prabhupada finishes with, one who is interested in being happy on this planet, as well as after death, generally wants to be elevated to the Pitra Lokas. So he's talking about karma kandi stuff. A good karmi also knows that he's not the body, but he still wants to enjoy the body. So he wants to go to where his friends and family are after death. Such a person can use the right ear for hearing Vedic instructions. That's, the karma kandi. Most of the Vedas is karma kandi. However, one who is interested in going to Tapaloka, Brahmaloka, the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishna Loka, may take initiation from the spiritual master in order to be elevated to such lokas. Right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Yeah, without Prabhupada's mercy, I probably would want to go to baseball loka, where they just play baseball all day. Yeah, but then there's always an end to the game, right? And then you gotta come back. Okay, so let's go back to 50. It's a Pitrihu. I call this class Why, What, and How We Hear. It's about hearing, really. And that's why Puranjan in the allegory was accompanied by Shrutadhar, who is with a body for hearing, because we don't want to hear him. So we came here to get away from him, but then he gives us a way, to exercise our desire to enjoy independent of him. So he gives us this material ears. Okay, so first note, living in the body, we engage with the world through the senses, figuratively described by Narada to King Barishat as a city of 9 gates. So we've been hearing about, we heard about, the taste and the smell, the mouth, the tongue, from Ganga Mantri. Yesterday we heard about taste and smell. Today we will hear about hearing. Now in text 50, this first text, we learn that the right ear is especially tuned to karma kanda activities for sense enjoyment and heavenly elevation to planets like Pitriloka, the planet of one's ancestors, through ancestors. Hence, this gate is known as Pitrihu. Yes, Pitrihu. And it's the gate is facing south. So again, if that's east, then this is a very fine point. Have you noticed in yourself? I haven't noticed that I'm more inclined to hear about spiritual stuff through the left ear, and no. Anyway, this is something, maybe it doesn't apply to us in Kali Yuga. But we're going to visit that, what we do, how we do here in Kali Yuga. I'm going to end the class with that. This is interesting. As the eyes and nostrils face east, so the right ear. Since Paranjan is also interested in sense enjoyment, Narada indirectly is telling King Barishat he is also a mere sense enjoyer. So he's filling out the whole allegory here, and he's telling him, yeah, this is indirectly, because yeah, as we've been hearing, Barishat can't take it directly, so he's got to hear the truth through the medium of a story here, which is very symbolic. And he is Paranjan, and we're all Paranjan. That's why Vyasa included it in the Bhagavatam. And so, yeah, so Barishat is the sense enjoyer. Because he doesn't want to hear it, doesn't want to hear the straight stuff, so he's got to hear it. And even after he hears this whole story of Paranjan, he still doesn't get it. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, here's something, when I heard about this left ear and right ear thing, and how we hear out of the right ear, you know, stuff that feeds our material desires. I remembered from reading Shakespeare in high school that there's a line in Julius Caesar. Anybody know what I'm getting at? Okay. So it is interesting that in Shakespeare's The Tragedy, it's one of his tragedies he wrote, Shakespeare wrote, Caesar was deaf in his left ear. There's a line where he says to Mark Antony, come up to my right side because my left ear is deaf. And Prabhupada is saying that the left ear is specifically tuned to spiritual things. But Caesar, his tragedy, his tragic flaw, is that he's so arrogant. He's a dictator, and so come to my right ear. He tells Mark Antony, for my left ear is deaf. That's actually how Shakespeare wrote it. Caesar's tragic flaw was his arrogance and personal ambition. He was so he couldn't see what was coming, and that was his undoing. That's why he was assassinated. His left ear is deaf, which the next verse says is tuned to higher pursuits. And then I made a note that what we desire influences how we hear. We can think of in the sixth canto, when Chitraketu wanted a son. So was it Angira Rishi? Yeah. Said, you know, after he had so many wives, but he couldn't have a son. And he was desperate. So Angira said, yeah, I can give you this, but this son is going to be Harsha Shoka. He's going to give you great happiness, but then he's going to give you unimaginable distress. So Chitraketu was thinking, okay, maybe he's going to be a little naughty or something, but look, I got to have an heir here. You know, his motive wasn't bad. He wanted to carry on the line of a king. But he couldn't really get what Angira Rishi was saying, that, you know, Harsha Shoka. He didn't expect that, you know, the other envious queens were going to poison the kid. So, yeah. So that's a good example of, you know, how our desires color our hearing. Also, I can tell you on a personal note that, you know, I was going through the whole drama with Mirabai, and how my desires were coloring how I was hearing her. And I realized that later when I had to write a letter, you know, that whole case, I had to write a letter of formal apology. And then I said in the letter, I can pinpoint exactly when I doomed our relationship. And then anyway, if you want to know more, come to me privately. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's funny, you know, in retrospect, these things are tragic at the moment, but Yeah, so what we desire influences how we hear. Now in text 51, what's Devahu, we learn that the northern, the northern gate represented by the left ear, named Deva, it's called Devahu because it is tuned to vibrations which take us to spiritual planets where godly people live. Like in Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, these are not, playboy planets. These are full of very intense and serious tapasvis, and they want to go higher. Brahmaloka, and even to the spiritual. So you can even, the left ears for also hearing about the spiritual world in Krishna Loka. So, in his purport to text 51, Prabhupada cites Gita 9:25 in Ayanti Deva, which reminds us that we are free to worship and go wherever we like, including all the way home to Krishna. Now, in Narada's allegory, that's allegory is like an extended metaphor where everything represents something else. The organs of hearing, the two ears, are represented by Puranjan's friend Shrutadhar, which are the receptacles, the two ears, to hear what we want. A reminder that our desires affect our hearing for better or worse. And Prabhupada, you can hear him say this indirectly if you ever hear him say on a recording, try to understand. And then, you know what he says? A lot, try not to misunderstand. Because what we desire, again, colors our hearing. So if we don't want to hear something, then we'll even if we hear it, we'll twist it around our material desires, which I just mentioned, Chitraketu and then me with Mirabai. Now, to make this all, to give a practical application for hearing and how the desires affect our hearing, I thought I would close with, there's something called the 5 levels of listening. Has anybody ever heard of this? 5 levels of listening. Well, this was pioneered by the Mormon self-help guy, famous, became Stephen Covey. The 5 habits of highly effective people, or the 7 habits of highly effective people. He was a Mormon, and so he was God conscious, and he became a great motivational speaker. He passed away recently, and in his 7 Habits book, his 7 Habits book was adapted by our late Sridhar Maharaj as the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Vaishnavas. You ever heard of this? Or the 7. And he took Covey's 7 principles, and he just applied it to how can we be effective as devotees. He just added Krishna to it. Covey, again, was already God conscious, but Sridhar Swami, he just sort of tweaked it for our society, our devotees. So, here, in that 7 habits, it talks about there's different levels of hearing. So, here's the first level of hearing. Of listening. He says listening. He says the first is ignoring listening. And this is when our body is present, but our mind is elsewhere. And sometimes we make a joke. The light is on, but nobody is home. Right? Okay. Just like if I'm really absorbed in something and I just want to be absorbed in that, and somebody's calling me. And Kavi gave an example of this he said, so I'm with my family, but I'm absorbed in something, and then people are, hey daddy, or hey dear, if it's the wife or the kids, and they're calling him, but he doesn't. He hears it, superficially. He hears the name, but he's so absorbed in what he feels is more important that he just ignores them, even though he's physically hearing it. So he calls that ignoring listening. And then a step up from that. This goes from 0 to 10. You could say, is pretending listening. Pretending listening. We appear to be listening, maybe even japa or sitting in class. Maybe you don't want to hear what I'm saying, so you're there and you're physically there, and you pretend to be there, but we're thinking about something else. We're just this happens all the time in japa, right? That's why Krishna says, from whatever and wherever the mind wanders. Krishna knows this. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Sometimes I can go a whole round and then, and then right toward the end of the round, I usually, because I know, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I forgot it was, oh my God, what's going on here? I haven't heard one bead, I haven't heard one word or mantra. Now that can, if somebody's pretending to be listening, say somebody's talking to me and I'm, I could be shaking my head, but actually I'm not hearing what the person's saying. I'm just thinking about something else. But I'm ostensibly listening. Now that can work. That can work until the person we're with asks us a question. And then we're caught. We haven't heard really a word what the person's saying because we're just faking. Maybe we're thinking, I don't want to be here. I want to go and do something else. Right? So then we're caught. And then, the jig is up. The game is over. I'm sorry, Prabhu. I didn't hear a word you said. Huh? What? You were right. You made motions like you were hearing me. Okay, so that's pretend listening. And then there's a step up from this. Kavi calls it selective listening. Okay, this is very interesting. We're only partially listening. We're listening, but we're only partially listening. While, for example, we're preparing something clever to say. Say we hear something, and we think, I got to come back for that. I got a clever joke or a pun. Something clever to say. A winning comeback. He calls it a winning comeback. Without listening to the whole message. We just catch something and then our mind starts running with it because we appear to be listening, but everything is still about me. And I just want to say something clever to draw the attention to me. We're not really getting the whole message. And there was a line from a famous movie in the 60s. Anybody ever see Cool Hand Luke? Paul Newman and, I forget the actor who said this. Really good too. Anyway, Luke. So this is maybe you'll recognize the line because it's a famous line. What we have here is a failure to communicate. You ever heard that line? Yeah, that's a famous, because it's now adapted in so many. I once took a communications seminar and the presenter, why did I take that? I remember why. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'll stay. I was there and she asked the question, and this wasn't long, this was like in the 2000s I took this. It was just a class. So she asked, does anybody remember the most famous line from Cool Hand Luke. And I knew it. So I immediately raised my hand and started quoting it. And she said, yes, because it was a communication seminar. So when we just selectively listen and we're not getting the whole message, we're really, it makes, the person, it's very problematic because the person realizes that our comebacker is not really, the point of what the person was saying. It was just some selective part, and we didn't get the whole message, which really hurts the relationship with the person, just like the previous one did too. Pretend listening, but this is even more because the person really thought we were, we have something to say, but what we had to say was really no good. So that's the first three levels: ignoring, pretending, selective. And then the next level is a level what we really want. This is a good one. And Kavi says it's attentive listening. And this is right in the Bhagavad Gita. First, it uses that exact word. Listen to this. In 1872, the last chapter is perfection of renunciation. It's really a summary of everything Krishna's said. And so in text 72, and it's only 78 verses, he's coming right to the end now. So he says to Arjuna, O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? So we can only, really hear, have our illusions dispelled if we've heard attentively. Not just what we want to hear, and not, hear something from Krishna and then we have a comebacker, that's, we think is cooler than what Krishna's saying, And Arjuna, the exemplar, the exemplar of hearing, he did hear, because he asked in the beginning. He said, please instruct me. So he was serious. He didn't just hear just to make a show of it. So he heard. So what does he say? What's his comeback? What's his response? Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. He didn't want to kill his friends and family, which sounded like a reasonable request. But now he knew that it's all based on the bodily concept of life. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I realize I am related to you. We all are. And it's by your mercy that you cared enough to sing this whole Gita to me. I am now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions. So that's when we hear attentively. Now, Kavi mentions, let's see, Arjuna, yes, this is the level of listening we should strive for in our daily interactions. So we should want to hear from each other attentively and not just pretend and and to go even higher. Now, there's even a higher level of hearing. And this could be, and to go even higher with those we want to be closest to, there is the final level of listening. So if we want to really be close to a person, because we have different natures, so it's just normal, we won't be close with everybody, but say we really want to be close with a certain devotee. And that level, you might have heard of this, is called empathic listening. Empathetic or empathic listening. So in this kind of listening, we not only understand what the other person is saying, because we're listening attentively, we put ourselves in their shoes, so we feel as they feel. And especially devotees who are, want to be, just like the 6 loving exchanges. One of them is Guya Makyati Prichyati. So revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. We don't do that with everybody because we're not close to everybody. But if we have close friends, we can listen, and then we can empathically listen is when we're able to actually feel as they feel. Yeah. And I end it with, and so when we empathically listen to Krishna, we can empathically listen to Krishna and feel his love for us. And how does Krishna feel? For so long I've been ignoring him. And how does that, I mean, he's our Father. He's our beloved, our beloved. So, yeah, so we can actually feel, oh, okay, Krishna, you love me, and now you're out of your mercy, as Arjuna said, you've instructed me. So that's the ultimate, that's the best empathic listening. But you know, I'm not there, so at least we can empathically listen to the people the devotees want to be close to. So that's all I have, and I'll read the verses again. If you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. All right. So the text 50 was, the southern gate of the city was known as Pitrihu, and through that gate King Puranjan used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchala. Yeah, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhar. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu. Through that gate, King Puranjan used to go with his friend Shrutadhar to the place known as Uttara Panchal. Go up. Oh, to here on the northern side. Okay. Questions, comments? Yes.
I was just wondering, so when you took Gayatri, the mantra was told to your right ear, yes?
Well, Prabhupada wasn't there. So he sent the tape to Hayagriva Prabhu, and it landed in New Vrindavan. It was a blinding snowstorm. It was sometime during the first week of February, 72. And I didn't see the letter, but Hayagriva gave me the tape. He told me, I remember now, he told me to hear it in my right ear. So that must have been what Prabhupada said in the letter.
Yeah.
Because he sent the letter to Hayagriva. I have duly accepted these people, these first initiates, as qualified to receive Gayatri. So here are the mantras in the paper. And they should, I remember that, he gave me the paper too. And they should hear the recording of me through the right ear. I guess it was a cassette tape. That was the technology. We did have cassette tapes in the 70s. Don't laugh too loud, all you.
Hey, I had
Oh, you
cassettes
youngins. They were very durable. I had a whole set of Prabhupada's golden avatar, I had them. I don't know what I did with them. I probably traded them for something. Maybe I gave them back to the archives. I don't know.
So is there any thoughts on why the discrepancy between this purport that says the left ear?
No, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
And even when I heard Gaurijan Prabhu's class on this, I have his classes on the Bhagavatam, and he also said what Prabhupada said in the right ear. Yeah, but I guess he forgot, or I should write him a letter. How do you reconcile these two things? Okay, we have an answer from Chris. Okay, that's all I know.
Many of Prabhupada's disciples who received initiation directly, which ear did they hear them?
Oh, yeah, he would go to the right ear. Yes,
Okay, so he was consistent.
he was consistent with the right ear.
So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I have a recording of my Gurudev saying the mantras, which he gave to me in the right ear.
Yeah.
Should I go play that recording in my left ear now? Just to be safe.
No, because even though, yeah, this is all I can think of is that this is some I don't know, it's some other yuga or time or I don't know, but I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it just doesn't apply to us because but Prabhupada said the right ear. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Maybe we're just too materialistic.
I mean, I got earwax in both ears. I don't know about you guys. You know, I'm. I don't want to hear it. I want to enjoy it. Yeah, earwax being, the stand-in for material desire. Okay. All right, are we done? Sorry, so let's try to hear and try not to misunderstand. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.